So on today's Card Academy lesson, I'm going to be sharing with you guys a variation of the Ed Marlowe retention of vision change. Now in the previous lessons, I've gone over this change in different variations. Today, we're going to go over a handling for a switch using this change. Now this one is done in the context of turning a card face up, almost like a double lift. So I'm going to show you how to do this with the card face up and with the card face down. So let's just get right into it and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now the switch might look a little bit like this. Let's say we've had a card on the table the entire time and we want to change it. The card is actually the 10 of hearts, but we don't want it to be the 10 of hearts. Well, in the act of turning it to a face-up position, guess what, my friends? We've now changed it for the 8 of spades. The same thing works with the card face up. So if you want to do it as a face-up switch, it also works in that way as well. So we're going to get over that and show you exactly how to do that. So the mechanics are the exact same thing as the Marlowe retention of vision switch. So that change is done very simply. We're just going to have a pinky break right there below the uppermost card of the deck. Well, technically this is the uppermost card of the deck, but this one over here is going to be the second from the top of the deck, and that one has a pinky break. Now here I've placed this card on the upper left corner. So I've talked about this change many times before, and all that's going to happen is that this card is going to fall in the hand as this hand places this card back flush with the deck. Now the practice here is that you want to make sure that the card is 100% flush with the deck. You don't want it in jog, you don't want it sticking out. You want the card to come back exactly where it started, flush with the deck each and every single time. So that's how you do the actual change as if you're throwing the card. However, here we're doing it in the context of apparently turning that card to a face-up position. So this is going to duplicate something like a double lift. We're turning these cards over, but in this case, we're actually turning over one card and we're switching it as we're turning it over. So it's kind of a weird thing. So here's the mechanics of that. What's going to happen is that instead of dropping that card and just letting it fall in the hand, we're actually going to drop that card and start to rotate it back on top of the deck at the same time that we're going to slap this card back on top of the deck. So with that fluid momentum, we're actually going to turn that card over and put it right back on top of the deck. That's the actual switch from the worst possible angle. But if you do the actions from this side, it looks exactly like we're turning that card to a face-up position. And again, all that's happening is this card is just coming down to the hand. This card is getting placed back on the table, and here I'm taking the opportunity to turn this card face up on top of the deck. That's all that's happening. But in that action, we're actually switching the card for the other one. But of course, if you do it from the right angle, it looks exactly like what it is, which is that that card is being turned over. But we're doing a switch. So if I leave the card face up, you can see exactly what's going on there. That's what's happening. We're just switching the card as we're turning it to a face up position. Now, as you can imagine, this also works with the card face up. However, we're going to have to modify one small thing. So in this case, instead of having the card directly on the upper left corner in this weird diagonal plane, we're going to have the card in a more vertical parallel plane. So this card is going to be on this long edge of the deck. We still have a break. However, it's going to be placed more on that long edge. The reason for that is because this card is going to get squared up with the deck, again, at the same time that this card is going to get deposited on the hand. However, you want to make sure that that card is actually going to go flush with the deck because you don't want any flashing over here on this side. So here we're taking advantage of the fact that the larger motion of turning the hand over is covering the small motion of having that card being placed back on the deck. So at speed, that switch just looks like this. That's it. And in that action, we've been able to turn that card into a different card as we're apparently placing it face down, or we could place this on a participant's hand. We're turning that card face down apparently, but really we're switching it for a different card altogether. So if you want another variation of the move, it just looks like this. We apparently take the card in the hand, but really we're switching it out. And all that's happening here is the exact same thing. The only difference is that now we're actually coming in and reaching for the card at the same time that we're timing it and placing that card back on the deck. So we're going to time it so that we're actually taking this card directly underneath. Remember, we have a pinky break, so it's a lot simpler to grab, and that card is getting grabbed at the same time that this card is getting placed flush back with the deck. So it's just looking like this from the exposed angle, and of course at this point you can place this on a spectator's hand or place it face down on the table. Look how much we could stretch one move until it's begging for forgiveness, and this is just variations of the Marlowe retention of vision change. So one of my favorite moves. I've taught it here recently on the Academy with different variations, but as you can see, the variations don't stop. And here we're just taking advantage of turning that card to a face-up position to hide that change beautifully. But that's the lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for being members of the PigCake Card Academy, and I hope to see you on the next one.